extremely sorry. It was taking longer than we expected. There was a little glitch in our system with Zoom webinar, but I'm glad to see there's so many of you who've joined. And again, apologies, but let's get it started because we've got only 50 minutes at hand, 49 to be precise. Shantanu, I am trying to see you. I can't see you. Are you around? Yes. All right. Thanks. Thanks for that. All right. I'm Paridhi, co-founder of MBA and Beyond, today hosting the session with Shantanu, founder of MBA and Beyond, also an alum of INSEAD from 2017 batch. We are happy to only keep this session specific to INSEAD. So please collect all your questions. And as we go through the sessions, we don't mind taking them up. You can raise your hands or you can drop your questions in the chat box. I'll turn over the space to Shantanu to introduce himself, and then we're going to quickly jump on to some of the questions. Chandra, I'm sorry, I'm just going to mute you. If you can mute yourself, I don't have the right stuff. Thanks. All right, over to you, Shantanu.
Right. Welcome. Guys, welcome over here. And again, we apologize for the delay. But like I said, good to see you all. We are going to have an exciting and interesting session on INSEAD. Going to share some interesting insights as well. So yeah, guys, I'm Shantanu. I'm the founder at MBA and Beyond, an INSEAD grad 2017 December batch. Have helped like a lot of applicants like you get into top-notch B schools like INSEAD, LBS, Wharton, Columbia, Stanford. So yeah, Paridhi, over to you.
Great. Getting on to our first question, which is also very relevant in today's time, especially when the competition is so high for INSEAD. And we know INSEAD really looks at international exposure as one of the most important value. So a lot of times candidates are asking us, right now, like, is this considered as international exposure? Is that considered as international exposure or not? Working with US clients, working with African clients, is that considered or not? So how can an applicant reflect or talk about global exposure in their profile if they've not worked abroad or studied internationally?
Right. So honestly, guys, if you have not worked abroad and studied, it's a difficult task. Extremely difficult task. Every year, indeed, there are a handful of applicants who get through. But yeah, I mean, there are other ways as well. For example, if you work in a company where international people visit your office, so now you have the opportunity to mingle with them. You have the opportunity to make decisions with them, coordinate the effort with them. For instance, when I started off working in the first 3 years, I did not have any international exposure at all. But I had a team on that project. The team was of 30 people and everyone was out of the New Delhi office. And out of 30, 25 were international people in the company, in the project, actually, not in the company, in just the project. So that helped me a lot. That counts as international exposure. Or, even during schools, let's say for some international competition, if you had gone, to attend it or to participate, even that counts as international exposure. But what generally INSEAD means by international exposure is to physically moving out of the country to work. But we understand why does INSEAD want it, and INSEAD wants it because the major learning in your study group, the major learning actually comes from your study group. It's not from the course material, because that is available online. You guys can yourself download right now, and go through the entire study material. But the major learning actually comes through when you interact with people from different cultures, and that is something very, very beautiful. For instance, for you, if A happened in your culture, then B should happen, right? And now you don't have words to explain. You're like, oh, come on, can't you see A happened, so B should happen, right? In some other culture, if A happened, then C would happen, right? Now both of you are arguing over that point, and both of you are not able to explain properly why should B happen or why should C happen? And that's exactly where the learning comes from. And INSEAD really puts in a lot of effort to design this. So so the way we tackle this is that though you have not moved out, but you have the experience of tackling opinions, viewpoints from a culturally diverse team.
Thanks, Shantanu. So, as we started talking about international exposure, there are a couple of things, and some of the candidates I see here have asked me those questions in the past few weeks. So, I'll just probably bring the questions to you as well, even though I've answered for some of them, but we'll answer it for the audience. So, let's say, does a conference, going for a conference just for a few days or maybe like a week or so to another country would count as international exposure? That's one. And the second is, I went on a exchange during my college to Canada or to another country, to write my thesis or do something for 6 months. Will that count as international exposure too, to bring out to INSEAD?
The answer to both the things are yes.
All right, that's good to know. If anybody else any other questions around international exposure, please feel free to raise your hands right now, because then we are going to move on to the other values that INSEAD looks into a candidate for. So feel free to raise your hands. I just give you a quick minute, and if you have any specific questions around your profile. Apart from this, just one quick thing, because I know some of you guys are struggling to make a decision. I know some of us are struggling whether we should apply this year or next. So just wanted to take this opportunity to share a few points with you. Earlier in the year, we were thinking that this is going to be a lighter year. A lot of candidates, were thinking they had the scores and everything, that they will make up their mind later, they'll start working on their applications later or whatever. Some of them decided to apply absolutely next year. They can completely let go of looking at the situation of the world. But some are making a decision now, so they've started to work on their applications. So looking at the stats, yes, early in the year it wasn't as competitive. Now it has started to become, depending on which round, which intake you're targeting. But this is a relatively lesser competitive year. Shantanu and I were thinking, and we were analyzing this. Overall, lesser number of candidates are applying. And if we talk about relativity, then Europe is relatively slightly more competitive than US. So the decision is yours whether you want to apply on this year or next year. The market is bad right now. The market is only going to get better after 2026. So wherever you want to position yourself, feel free to do that. I can see a couple of questions here, but let me pick the ones that are around international exposure. Okay, I just see one. I've already done my master's in NYU, so this is a good example of international exposure, right? Yes, it is.
Yes, yes, it is. It is. And if your master's was for a year long, then you have a year-long international exposure, which is really good.
Yeah. All right. Does working in a team with people from multiple countries count? Shantanu, you can answer that again. I think you started off with that, but maybe you want to elaborate.
Yes, it indeed counts. It indeed counts. But like I said earlier, physically moving out of the country is preferred over this. So eventually competition is relative. It's never absolute. We've gotten through applicants. We've actually made applicants get through INSEAD even without physically moving out of the country. But again, it depends from year to year, from round to round, from intake to intake. It does count. Dhruv, not going to deny it.
Yep. So Dhruv, just to help you understand, when Shantanu says it's relative, so like I said, the competition is slightly more in Europe compared to US right now, what we see, just because of everything that you've seen in the news. Let's say if 100 people are competing for 10 seats at INSEAD from India, and if 50 have stepped out of the country and 50 have not, then those 50 will be preferred. So again, it's a combination of people or profiles that are going to be applying each year, which is going to make sure. But international exposure remains one of the most important value to INSEAD. So Vivek is asking, does traveling and touring around in Europe count? Yes, it counts. Shantanu,
Yeah,
your
indeed. It indeed counts. And but again, I mean, you need to talk about it through your essays as well, right? It needs to be significant enough that, and the significance doesn't just come from number of days, right? Significance comes in the way that what actually have you gotten out of it, right? And is that significant enough for you to write it in your essays and uh, throw an anecdote out of it?
Yeah. And we have one last question from Simran. Does working remotely for a US-based company count as international exposure?
I mean, working remotely, again, if you stay in your own country, then not much. And if you're working remotely, then it doesn't mean you're also not interacting with people in the office. If people, they come over, if international people come over to an office, right? If you're working remotely, then it doesn't. Yeah, so no, not that much, I would say, over in this case. But if you work remotely and then you have moved out of your country, you're still working remotely, it doesn't matter US company or whatever company, right? But you have changed your location, you're working remotely, yes, and then it would count.
Yeah. Yeah, Karthik, answer to your question is also yes. And now we'll move on to the next question. While I understand. So, just summarizing this, a lot of things can be bucketed into international exposure. Doesn't always mean that you have to travel to only tier one countries or, the Western world. You can also be traveling to Nepal. You could also be going to Sri Lanka. Also, when we are lacking international exposure, one of the quickest or the best tips that we can offer to you guys is take up some volunteering opportunity in the neighboring countries, and where you don't have to spend a bomb, but yeah, it can help you build your profile or strengthen for at least the ones who still have time to apply, or maybe who are doing a Jan 27 intake, or the ones who are doing the applications next year. You can think about maybe accumulating some experience around international exposure if you're really looking forward to get into INSEAD. If you're applying this year, then there are ways to bring out international exposure in your application, and I'm sure Shantanu will be happy to guide you on that if you're looking to work with us. One interesting bit, something that we're offering to our candidates right now, for especially round 3, because we don't have the capacity to onboard candidates for round 3 Jan 26 intake anymore. So Shantanu is offering 3 of his hours. We're calling it an INSEAD focus program or a course, so to say, whatever you want to call it. The first session is going to just revolve around essays. Second session is going to revolve around your resume, and the third session is going to be just around letters of recommendation. With a half an hour of you can spend with Shantanu just doing your Q&A and polishing your profile. These are going to be group sessions. So whoever is interested, I will put everything together in an email. Usually the hourly package is $400, but we're just offering this course, the whole course for INSEAD, specifically for candidates who want to target round 3 at just $400. So whoever, is targeting round 3, or maybe want to give it a kickstart, even for September intake, but you want to do it on your own, feel free to utilize this course for yourself. We're going to be running it somewhere between 25th of June to 25th of May to 5th of June. So it's falling well within the bandwidth of you meeting the deadline for 22nd May. 22nd June. Moving on to the next question, Shantanu. What are INSEAD's core values, and how do I ensure my essays genuinely reflect them without sounding very forced to match the value expectations?
Yeah, the core values, I think they're right there on the INSEAD's main page, guys. Leadership potential, um, academic excellence, academic rigor, international exposure, which is it's one of them, and ability to contribute. So leadership, I mean, the way we actually have been going about this is it would be great if we can showcase social leadership, right? Because see, most of you are going to be young professionals. They're not going to be, for majority of them, they're not going to be people reporting to you, right? Um, but you can still show leadership through other aspects. So best way to show is social thing, where we are also showcasing that you have taken up some social activity up, again showing that you can contribute as well. So killing two birds with a single stone. Then for academics, actually it's more on your undergrad GPA. If you've done masters, your master's GPA, but we understand that ship sailed like years ago. It's not in your control anymore. But your test score is your GMAT GRE, right? But still, there are a few people where, let's say, your test score is not that good enough. We tackle it through the optional essay. We have a lot of successful applicants doing that. Ability to contribute, we generally, like I said, through social leadership you can show, but apart from that, also through ECSs, we would love to show that that you have taken up. And it really doesn't have to, you really don't have to like join an NGO. It's more about supporting a cause. And if you support a cause, then you can also do that while being in your company, For instance, there was this applicant, so who used to work on oil rigs, right? And she went over there and then she kind of realized that the protective kits that you have, that everyone wears when you go out there, the rigs, is not made for women. It's made for men, even shoes. And they're not even any toilets for women, So, and then she went back to office, the main office, desk thing, and then she asked like, why don't we have those? And she got a reply, because you see the women participation is really low. So that's what she brought up. Like, it's a chicken and egg, right? Is the women participation low because the environment is not conducive, or the environment is not conducive because women participation is low, right? So then she made it a point, right, that she's going to fight for it. And after 1.5 years, 30% women joined over there, right? Again, not an NGO, right? But you stand for a cause, deliver it. So this can be shown through ECs as well, and another example of social leadership. I could also see that, a few of the people were talking about ECs. So guys, the EC in itself is, I don't want to use a strong word, meaningless, but it really doesn't matter. What matters is, what are you getting out of it? What have you done? How are you enriched? For instance, there was another applicant who said, when I was 8 years old, that is when I had to go to boarding school. And I was really scared, low on confidence. And being female, I was kind of scared of the environment. And that's when I learned karate, Now, just see, karate is like, is like pretty common, easy, right? A lot of people I know who have done karate, right? So, but the way we molded it was that after doing karate, she kind of realized that pretty good self-defense mechanism, to have. And then inside she felt more powerful. And then we wrote a beautiful line saying that earlier she felt that the world would only be tackled by muscle power, but then she realized after karate that it's more of mind than muscle. And it's a combination of mind and muscle, and mind is more, which boosted her confidence. And then she did wonders in her professional life. So again, EC in itself is not important. What's important is the way you are enriched by it. And then international exposure, I think we've already talked a lot about it, Pariti, right? So I'm going to skip it for now. It's going to be redundant.
Yeah. So I'm going to tackle a question that Pooja is asking right now, even though I try to cover most of the questions that have been asked. Appropriate GRE, GMAT. There's no right or wrong answer to this. We have INSEAD is pretty flexible as long as you can bring out what they're really looking for. We've seen Indian male remote engineer get into INSEAD with just a 605 GMAT with us last year. We've also seen a female candidate with as low as a 630 on the classic edition as well get in. Candidates working with Shantanu with as low as 316 have been invited for interview. I won't say that they made it through, but interview invite did come through. So you do know that 316, 630, 605, these are the lowest of the low scores that you might have ever known, but INSEAD does invite. I mean, get also offer them admits if they are perfect fit for what they're really looking for. So yeah, I mean, try to get the average. The averages that we've seen is 710, 720 on the classic edition, so which can equate to a 665. But yes, if your profile is a really good fit for the values of what INSEAD looks for, majorly leadership skills, international exposure, and contribution to the community, if you've got strong examples to support, then you can get by with a lesser score as well. We've seen. So yeah, that's that. Then we'll move on to. I hope that answers your question, Pooja. Okay, Simran's got a question. Generally in NCR, what is the average work experience? Also, was there any representation from people who are from entrepreneurship, family business background? Shantanu will talk about the average. Meanwhile, I'm going to dig in a YouTube video of one of our candidates with 8 years, 9 years of experience, Sharanya, who got into NCR after, I think she was a reapplicant after multiple attempts. She comes from a family business background. So INSEAD absolutely appreciates entrepreneurs and family business folks as long as you are able to communicate your story strongly. But yeah, Shantanu, do you want to touch upon the average number of years of work experience?
Right. So, guys, the average years of experience, like when I went there, I had 5 years, 3 months. Even now, I can see, so on an average, it's like if you have 5 to 6, I would say 5.5 to 6.5 is the average. Having said that, that's not like the only thing they are going to follow. We held applicants at 4 years of experience get through. One of my study group mate, she was Brit. She only had 3 years of experience, BCG sponsored. So yeah, I mean, I've also seen such applicants in my study group, and also we have like I said, we have held applicants. Also on the other side, we have held veterans with 10, 11, 12 years of experience get through. And in general, also people with 8 or 9 years of experience get through. So, but what happens is that if you are on the other side of the spectrum, then we really got to also answer why MBA now. Through optional essay, or now INSEAD for the goal essay, INSEAD has increased the word limit from 100 to 300 word. Even that space can be used.
Yeah. So just to help candidates understand whoever on the. So at this moment we've got candidates with as low as 3.5 years of experience applying to INSEAD, and as much as even 10+ years of experience applying to INSEAD. So like for older candidates, you have to make sure what Shantanu said, why now? And for younger candidates, you have to make sure that you are above the average to prove that, okay, you can match the standards of people coming with 5 to 6 years of experience. Right, let's take up, we're just taking a little pause, moving back to the questions that we have, while you can keep dropping your questions and I'll try to tackle them on the side. And for Simran, I'm going to share a YouTube video shortly. So for how do I balance my personal and professional narratives in INSEAD's essays, considering, Shantanu, that there are going to be so many non-professional essay questions as well at INSEAD. So how do you advise candidates should talk about them? Maybe just some generic advice looking at the time that we have at hand.
Sorry, I couldn't understand the question properly. So are we talking about the professional side or?
Both. So how do you balance your professional and personal stories to bring out to INSEAD?
Right. So the INSEAD anyways is going to, so INSEAD very categorically splits 2 types of essays. One is professional essay. They just simply say it's professional essay, right? So just talk about professional stuff over there, right? Then they say motivational essays. I think that is your space where you don't restrict yourself to professional angle. And one of the biggest mistakes that applicants make is they just continue talking about uh, their professional life. But you in general, each one of you would have a personal aspiration, right? And that personal aspiration misses out when you only stick to the professional side of yours, and you are a mix of your personal life and your professional life, right? And guys, in general, personal life is bigger, in terms of motivation, in terms of aspirations. Professional life is a medium to achieve that aspiration. So I think that's what you're supposed to do. Instead of focusing on a subset of your life, which is your professional life, you got to think the bigger picture. And the best way to balance is to stay away from professional examples in the motivational essays. Yeah, indeed. I mean, we do put professional examples. I'm not going to deny it that we don't put, but the theme is personal in motivational essays. And then we showcase that, hey, you see this personal side of mine. I just told you how good I am. Now let me also throw a very quick example professionally. So your professional side, I think, in motivational essays is, if I pick first motivational essays, again depends, but hardly gonna write 150 words, 200 words. The remaining 350 words is gonna be on your personal side. So yeah, just break up to help you understand.
All right. Let me take up a few questions from here. Average. Any right range? I'm 34 right now, about 9 years. Articleship, 3 years. So, Vinayak, do you want to unmute yourself? Does that 9-year include your articleship as well? So then that'll be
Yeah,
6 years.
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, so 6 years articleship is not counted as full-time work experience. So you just have 6 years of work experience. You're perfectly in the range that they are looking for.
Understood. Thanks.
You're welcome. So by the way, there are a lot of CAs that apply to INSEAD. Shantanu can talk about it as well if
The
you.
last couple of years, I've seen CAs, number of applications, CAs shot up. But yeah, guys, the saddest part is your articleship is not counted. I hope all of you are aware of this. And then if after articleship, if after that you have done your BCom or any bachelor's that you guys do on side, then also the work experience during that time wouldn't be counted. I know it's a little complex. We're more than happy to talk one-on-one and help explain. But you guys are the most complex profiles to calculate the work experience for.
Yeah, and I was talking to one of the candidates. I don't know, AIR 49 or something. I think you guys only get ranked until 50. So her situation was that she had her work experience after she already got her BCom out of the way, or something undergrad she did. So her work experience started to get counted, and then she navigated through a way, and probably she'll make her 3 years count. So, I mean, we'll see how that works or how that pans out. Okay, we've got Shrey. How likely am I to get a job in Europe after INSEAD MBA? Is there a language barrier? Buddy, like beyond the language barrier, there are other barriers right now. Sorry for joking about it, but yeah, Shantanu, do you want to talk about this? And then we can talk about markets, which are really flourishing, because I think that's the hottest topic right now. You should look and choose the markets or the schools which give you access to the markets where the jobs are really sprouting, and not just limit you to the markets where the job opportunities are limiting. So over to you, Shantanu. Is it going to be hard for Shrey to get a job in Europe?
Okay. Current scenario you're talking about?
Language barrier is his question first, and then you can maybe elaborate about the job market as well.
Dude, as far as language is concerned, you anyways are not going to work in those countries. So when you go to INSEAD, majority of the jobs that people get in are in London. In London, majority of the batch goes to London, first of all. Then you have Amsterdam, you have Berlin, you have English speaking cities. You've got Nordic, where people work But yeah, getting a job in France, or let's say Spain or Italy, it's difficult, and no one really even looks for that, apart from very handful of people who already know that language. But yeah, I mean, Ireland, I missed Ireland. A lot of people who get placed in Dublin. You have Facebook, offer your Google, bunch of other big companies over there. So there is enough space in Europe, and language barrier. Yeah, that's why people don't go to those countries and work in the other English-speaking cities. So this question is answered. And what was the second question?
Yeah, so Shantanu, just an extension because somebody else also touched upon it. I think Saurav also wants to know. And I know candidates do want to hear what's the current job market situation. How do you advise candidates? Because I know a lot of us are struggling whether we should apply this year or not, because the moment to make that decision, since we don't have enough time, we only have 3 months. So what is your take on that, and how do you advise candidates?
I'll give you my take. Yeah, I understood the question. Okay, I give you my take, guys. So when COVID happened, the induced slowdown, it continued for around 18 months, right? If you go and take a look into 2007, 2008, I think it was approximately 18 to 24 months, right? You see what's happening already, right? The market is really very down. But let's say if you get to Jan intake, and Jan intake is already over, almost over, right? But now let's say if you're targeting September intake, by the time you'll graduate, it's going to be 2027, July, right? Right now, it's 2025 May. Even after 2 years, if the market condition still stays the same, then guys, I mean, forget about your MBA. I mean, the entire thing is going to be down, and honestly, had I known the answer of this question, guys, I would have bet money on stock market and, just make money out of it. So no one exactly knows, but just looking at, in general, the trends of recessions and of slowdowns, I think 2027, even Jan 2027 or June 2027, by then, it should come back. Should definitely come back.
Yeah. So one of the fiercest years what we've seen for the competition was actually the pandemic year. It was 2020 and 2021 was when we saw that the competition was fierce. And, a lot of business schools and everyone, and even Shantanu and I were projecting that the competition is going to be fierce. And we did see that the rush was big, but the number of applicants actually applying is much lesser compared to what we saw in the pandemic year. And that's a fact, it's a fact across the industry. So, I mean, now it's up to us whether you want to leverage this year, as a lesser competitive year to give yourself an edge to some of the competitive schools you want to take a shot at, or you may want to really wait out until next year. It's going to be a very personal decision for all of you to make, looking at the situation of the world. But yeah, it is a fact that it's definitely lesser competitive than what it was in the pandemic. So that remains. Okay, so I hope we were able to talk about Saurav. So just to understand a little more about job opportunities, when Shantanu was talking about access to different markets that INSEAD will offer you, Middle East is definitely one of the big markets for candidates graduating from INSEAD to land in as well, and that's one of the markets that's really flourishing right now.
I think Saurav also talked about Luxembourg, and indeed, Saurav, Luxembourg is a like all the Amazon hires, right? They go to Luxembourg. And yeah, I mean, Luxembourg, again, I miss the country. Thanks for putting out over here. Definitely.
You don't pay a single penny for public transport in that country. It's just so insane. But yeah, Luxembourg definitely. And then Southeast Asia, don't forget that, because INSEAD has a campus in Singapore, Hong Kong, Indonesia, some of the markets that have opportunities right now. All right, then we've got Karthik's question already did. So this is more around second MBA. I'm assuming he's like from IIMs or FMS or maybe one of the tier 1 MBA college in India. So any advantages or disadvantages of doing a double MBA? Again, Karthik, we can talk about it at length. You can feel free to reach out to me or Shantanu. We can speak about this. A lot of times candidates go for second MBA, but you need to have a very strong reason for that. Like, why do you want to do it? We have had a lot of candidates, coming from tier 1 B schools in India because they had very clear reason that, you went on to do your MBA right after your undergrad. You barely had any understanding of the world of how are you going to put your MBA to use. There is a reason why global business schools want you to or expect you to have certain number of years of experience before you apply all the MBA knowledge into doing something. You need to be exposed to some industries, to some functions, to some roles, and have some understanding of what you're going to do with the degree. So yes, Karthik, absolutely. People go for second MBA and it's not disadvantageous, but it has to align with your personal goals as well. All right, let me see. I've got a personal question, so I'll read that out loud. I came to understand that INSEAD grads get hired by Johnson & Johnson, and I'm planning to study pharma, business and tech in Ireland. Okay. And I would like to get into pharma consulting after a management program from INSEAD. How hard is it to get into this job or even consulting? And what are the main differences between INSEAD France and Singapore campus? So these are two different questions. We can definitely talk about the campuses first, because I think that will be for the wider range of audience, the difference between INSEAD France and INSEAD Singapore. And then we can talk about like how easy or difficult it is to land pharma consulting opportunities after INSEAD. Shantanu,
I
do you
think
want to talk about the
what
campus?
I understood is that the applicant is asking that now I'm thinking of doing a course or something in Ireland, and then after that gonna do a management course, right? Is that the thing, Parvi?
Do you want
Sorry to interrupt, but I'm the
Yeah,
applicant
go
who
ahead.
asked the question.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Sharon.
That's actually what I was trying to say. So I think I've attended the webinars of Joe Badge and Shubham Agarwal, who has completed his MBA from Cambridge and is currently a pharma consultant. So I got to know about that, and I've also seen advertisements or some information regarding this Johnson & Johnson hiring people for consulting from INSEAD France. So I wanted to know about this because I don't have a tech degree or a BTech or engineering background. Since most of these applicants get into consulting or management, they are from this background. I have a background in science, and that is microbiology. But I do have, my person is mostly aligned with management sector. So that is why at first I'm planning to take pharmaceutical business and tech, which is available in Ireland, and then trying to build a career. So I'll get that exposure that you have mentioned and the work experience. Afterwards, I'm planning to take, because I've seen INSEAD is one of the best, and also it is in Europe. Ireland is also in Europe. So
Sharon, I'm
that
sorry.
is-
I'm going to pause you here.
Yeah.
Conscious
it's
of
okay.
time here. I think
Yeah,
this
it's
is
okay.
going to be a little longer discussion because you're saying your career paths here and
Sorry.
like to understand better. So what we do after this, after you receive my email, feel free to respond to that. We'll find a common time together to talk. But yes, we'll figure this out tomorrow or day after.
To answer the entire journey, Sharon, it's going to be long.
Yeah,
but
I know,
in
I know.
short, if
I
you're
know.
looking for pharma consulting post INSEAD,
Yeah.
you can.
It's great.
You know. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you for
and
your
jump on to thanks Sharon for understanding. All right, jumping on to the next question, Shashmit is asking, in terms of employability for Indians, which campus? Okay, I think we can touch upon the question, Shantanu. Is there any difference between INSEAD France and INSEAD Singapore campus? Classic
No
question.
difference at all. No difference at all. The only difference is, for instance, like if you're looking, I mean, the MNCs are gonna hire across the campuses, right? But let's say if you look to settle down in Southeast Asia, then obviously you should pick Singapore, right? Whereas if you look to settle down in Europe, you should pick Europe, not for MNCs, but the startups, or let's say Series B company or Series C company, right? For instance, Zalando, which is like an Amazon of Europe, doesn't hire from Singapore campus, and Lazada, which is Amazon of Southeast Asia, doesn't hire from Europe campus. So I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say, right?
Absolutely. All right. So one of the candidates a few days back was asking me this question as she was doing her INSEAD application. That they ask you to choose the campus while filling out the application. So there's always an opportunity for you to choose whether you want to go to Fontainebleau, Singapore, or you're okay with either. So the question was, does that affect your chances if you...
It does not.
Right. So yeah, for anybody who's worried about that, it does not affect your chances. There's one, like, you're not getting recruited or you're not getting accepted campus wise, you're getting accepted at INSEAD as a whole. So and then after that, the bidding system and everything can happen. I want to do the AdCom, calculate WorkX till the time of matriculation. Yes, till the time of matriculation. Can you comment on scholarships and what other... I think we could talk a little bit about scholarships now, Chantu, that we have a few minutes. And I mean, now that we know that one of our male candidates also just backed a scholarship today at INSEAD, so maybe you could shed some light on probability of getting and how much the fees usually can be covered with the scholarship. Otherwise, people sponsor. And then,
so generally,
how do people sponsor their MBA if not through scholarship?
So let's go one by one. I'll definitely forget the questions by the end, right? The first one on scholarships, guys. Generally, for Indian males, it's difficult. For females in general, we're getting on another 18K euro scholarship, right? But if you see the trend, LBS R2 for the 25 intake, the batch that's going to just start now, right? Hasn't rolled out scholarships, because what they saw was, because of the geopolitical thing that happened in US, now people are not going to US, people are coming to LBS, or INSEAD for that matter, right? So LBS had filled up its entire quota and they didn't offer any scholarship this time, whereas INSEAD, right? INSEAD, after the September intake, INSEAD also has Jan intake, right? And this is the first time I'm seeing INSEAD offering scholarship, to male candidates without writing any essay, So generally what we do is when applicants get through, both INSEAD LBS or let's say Cambridge or ESA as well, so we haggle scholarships across, right? I haven't seen INSEAD pushed at all. I mean, I have applicants got through again, these 3-4 colleges. We asked INSEAD for scholarship, said no. We asked LBS for scholarship, £35,000, So now, obviously, the applicant joined LBS, This time around, what happened was INSEAD has rolled out scholarship, and I do see this trend to continue. And I think the scholarships, even in R1 coming intake, you can expect scholarship, R1 intake for INSEAD. What was the second question, Parithi?
What are the other ways of funding your MBA
loan
education?
Loan, or take money from your parents, or take loan. In my case, I funded my entire education. I mean, Prodigy, and there are a bunch of other players now. Prodigy is I think it's an INSEAD startup. Yeah, it's an INSEAD startup. They're a big company now. They're going to give you loan without any collateral, without any co-sign. Just on a piece of paper that you got the admit from INSEAD. And there are actually other companies as well. Someone talked about Johnson & Johnson. I think Shan was talking about Johnson & Johnson. So, I don't know how many AAA companies are there at the moment, but back in 2018, Microsoft was demoted from AAA, to lower tiered company. There was only one company which ran AAA. That was Johnson & Johnson. So what does this ranking mean is that the default rate if this company takes a loan is going to be 2%. Whereas the stats are whenever you give loan to INSEADers or these top-notch B school people, the default rate is 0.5%. Which is it's lower than the AAA rated company in the world, right? So that is why a lot of money is flowing into not scholarship loans, guys, especially from companies like Prodigy. So you have a bunch of money available. You'll get loan in like 7 days. You don't have to go anywhere. Sit at your home, submit documents, 7 days.
All right, thanks, Shantanu. Okay, I've tried to answer many questions, as many as I could, but I still see that there are some hanging around there. So I'll pick one last question. Let me see. Okay, let's talk about this because, again, a very hot question what Satyam is asking. Round 1 versus round 2. So currently, like, some of the candidates are ready with their scores. I can see some of you are sitting over here, some of you are working with us. Some are not ready yet, Shantanu, and INSEAD is a heavy application. I always tell them that they should have at least 2 months at hand, when they're doing their application. So 45 to 60 days. So let's say if they don't get the score in time, is it okay to go for round 2? How are they both differentiated? Which one would you suggest, and how should they tackle their application?
If you have a portion to apply in R1, then apply in R1. And if you don't, then you can also go to round 3. And I would say only apply when you feel when you're going to put up your best application forward. I'm not saying perfect, but the best application forward. And whenever it is, guys, it doesn't matter. But most scholarships are available in the earlier rounds. That's how I'm going to put it up.
Also, if you're looking for scholarships, go for earlier rounds.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay, sorry. I was typing out to Pooja the same thing she's asking. My bad. Okay, we've got 2 more minutes. I'll just, we can talk about Jan versus September intake. Shantanu, your thoughts on that little bit so that, everybody's aware which round with intake and which, season they're joining. Does the recruitment impact any of the seasons?
Not really. I think almost every INSEAD session I have to answer this. Do you have an article on this, Kariti, by any chance? Or?
Yeah,
we'll check. Yeah. Guys, the only difference is that in Jan intake you have internship, right? 8 weeks internship. In September intake there's no internship. But is there any disadvantage of one over another? Nah, I don't think so. There isn't. Placements are similar, But there is one advantage that I feel with Jan intake is that when you do your internship, right, and when you come to the 4th period, so INSEAD has 5 periods, guys. So you get internship after the 3rd period. Now in P4, when you come in, you already have a job because you've converted your internship into PPO, right? Now you have a job. You have 2 periods left. Now either you can again sit for job, fight for something else, or you can really just enjoy your experience. That is something that's not available in September intake. But having said that, in terms of overall job opportunities, both the intakes are similar.
All right. So I heard, Shantanu, that the 3rd language or like a language thing that INSEAD used to have, that you have to do a language course when you join the program. That
so
it has been taken off, right, from INSEAD now. They don't have to. It's not.
I really gotta see, but in general for admissions, it just plays no role. As far as if you guys just looking for admissions as of now, it just plays no role. The only thing is that when you graduate out of INSEAD, you need to learn 3 languages, and we being Indians, we already know 2 at least. For instance, for me, the 3rd language was Spanish, which I learned over there. But again, it plays no role at all, even in placements. It's just an INSEAD thing.
Yeah. So FC is asking, how does one manage the 2nd language requirement at INSEAD as someone who primarily speaks only English? So yeah, I mean, you will have an opportunity to do a language at INSEAD, but for what I remember, at least the third language bit was already taken off from one of the candidates. I learned it from them a couple of weeks back, but yeah, you can check that. However, it's just fun to learn another language. You can do it at INSEAD.
So INSEAD, yeah. So for the 3 periods, for the first 3 periods, you just like a course you have, normal course you have, so you also have a language course. And I think in my group we were 16. So yeah, I think they only make a group of 16 to 20. And you have to take that course for 3 periods.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I would say, guys, do it earlier, do it pre-INSEAD, do your second or third language pre-INSEAD before joining the course. It's going to save a lot of time.
Yeah, so Chandra also just validated that it's now just 2 languages. So yeah, for anybody who speaks 2 languages, that's not a problem. Now you don't have to do a third one anymore, which people had to do back in the day. Okay, I think now we are done with our session, but I can see you guys have a lot more questions coming in. Feel free to send me a reply. Feel free to book a call with me and Shantanu. I hope you all enjoyed the session. Shantanu and I really did. Thanks for asking such interesting questions. Have a great evening. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
Look out for my email. Thank you. Bye-bye.